Kia ora, my name is Cheryl Waaka. I am currently working for Northland Rugby Union as the Girls Women's Lead. I have been to 2 World Cups in the 98 and 2002, and I feel very privileged to be back home where I'm born and bred to give back what I've learnt in my rugby career.
Kia ora, my name is Holli. I'm part of the Kauri FPC team that won the championship in 2023, and I've been playing rugby for 4 years now.
Kia ora, hi, I'm Kelly McCallum. I am currently a Northland Rugby Union board member, and my background in rugby, started rugby at a late age at 21, and since then I went to 2 World Cups, 2002, 2006. 2006 I was captain of Canada. Later years I've moved from an athlete to a coach, and coached the Japan Sevens team and was part of the high performance in the Japan Rugby Union.
Well, in my era of growing up, there wasn't women's rugby. So for me, it was netball. And for me, it was watching the Silver Ferns when I was growing up. So my two was Margaret Forsyth and Tracy Fair.
So growing up, I was a netball kid. So a lot of the athletes that I looked up to were people within my community. It wasn't just the stuff they done on the court, it was what they did off. So if they weren't playing, they were coaching. If they weren't coaching, they were umpiring. So that's something that really inspired me. The stuff they did on the court was they pushed me to be harder. They didn't care that I was a child. If I wanted to play in that grade, I had to prove myself. And that's something that I've been able to transfer over to rugby.
I grew up in a really small town called Crescent Beach in Canada. It was on the west coast. And for some reason, that little tiny town produced a lot of Olympians and Commonwealth, and a lot of them were females. So I kind of grew up with this, that there was no difference. And actually it was the female swimmers, a lot of swimming, a lot of divers, rowers. So that was my kind of growing up, thinking, it was just normal for women to excel in a high performance.
Barriers, I suppose, for me when I was playing, it was travel, but now I've seen it's just gone phenomenal. The girls today are looked after, travel's taken care of, and now we're seeing the girls' game actually televised. When I was playing, you were lucky to see us on TV. So now the future, how it's rolled, it's just amazing. Like, I just sit back now and just think, wow, look what I started to where it is now.
As a FPC player, a barrier that we face is that we aren't contracted. It isn't our full-time job, yet we play at that level. I think the industry could help us out more by bringing in more sponsors, more funding, so that we are given an opportunity to train like full-time athletes. A lot of us, we work full-time, we study, we're mums, we're partners, we miss out on time from our families because we have to go to training in the night time and then be expected to wake up early and go to work. So if we were able to get the funding to be full-time or to have contracts, I think that would be very helpful in the future.
One of the biggest barriers for me, and being a rugby athlete, growing up in a female one, was the money for us in Canada. Rugby's a minor sport in Canada, so there was hardly any funding. So I guess for that back then, there was times where we used to have an old tournament called the Canada Cup, and the Canadian men's would play in it, and we would play in it, and we'd have to pay $2,000 for the 10 days, and the men would receive $2,000. And it was pretty much a swap. We would have to write a check out to the boys and they would receive the $2,000. So the inequalities with the payment was a real barrier. So all of us had jobs. Most of us went to university and then we had jobs on top of that. So, but from what I see, from then until now, big movements coming in that. Equity is massive. So where we can find those resources and those monies to come in, especially within our union, we feed them into it to make it equity and give them the resources so they don't have those barriers as much. Still a lot of room and things to overcome, but it's definitely moving forward and in the right position.
My personal journey would have to be, of course, making the Black Ferns, but secondly, meeting new friends who are now lifetime friends, and also for a little girl from Otawa, Hokianga, going to see the world. Rugby allowed me to see the world, and I'm forever grateful for that.
My favourite memory so far within rugby was winning the championship level in 2023. It just felt like a weight off our shoulders. You know, we worked so hard, we travelled, you know, we missed time with our families, we had to take days off work, so it just felt like everything that we done made up for it. And it was just surreal. You know, we had people from our small communities travel all the way to Palmerston North to watch us play, and to do it in front of them and to do it for each other was just awesome.
Probably one of my top memories is this recent World Cup when they were up in Whangarei, and I was volunteering for the World Cup, and I had my sunglasses on, and I was right at the front, and it was one of the later games, and I was standing in my volunteer gear, and the gates were closed because the game hadn't started, and I knew that the gates were going to open in half an hour, so I was standing there, and I could see the people started coming in, and they were lining up at the gate, and all of a sudden I couldn't see the back of the crowd lining up, and I thought, whoa. And so then I was sitting there, and when we opened the gates, there was probably lines of 20 across, almost jammed up against the gate, and it probably 10 lines back. They sprinted to get their seat on the other side because it was general seating on the other side. And I started to cry. I actually cried. And the lady next to me, the security woman who was working, she's like, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, I don't think I'd ever see this day that people were sprinting to a women's rugby match so they could get a good enough seat to watch a match. And it was just an amazing moment for me at that time.
So with my current role at Northland Rugby, in the girls space, we've been implemented Ripper girls tournaments. We've got year 7 and 8 girls tackle happening term 2 of this year, just to get them ready for high school when they go into under 15, first 15. So we're creating a pathway for our girls from primary school now. So from there, they play first 15, leave school, go into club. Then from club, we have under 16s, under 18 reps. Then you've got development, Cody, Orpiki, and then you've got our 7s as well. So for our young girls, the pathway now is so strong that if you decide you want to do something all the way from Northland, you don't need to leave Northland now to actually make the Black Ferns. And we've proven it with our current Black Fern. It just shows you can do it from home.
Any young girl that I could give advice to, I have 3 that I always say. Number 1 would be just put your hand up for every single opportunity that might come up. You know, it'll expose you to different environments and different people. Every person that you meet adds value in some way. The second one is to be coachable. You know, in rugby we talk a lot about being a sponge and just absorbing everything in, and you just learn a lot. And the third one is just having a good work ethic, you know, working hard, doing extras, and just going above and beyond to get yourself out there.
I guess in terms of women in governance, me personally, I always had the stereotype of board members in governance as, you know, finance, which is very important, policymakers, which is very important. And I never thought that me as a rugby player, a rugby coach, would fit in the board stereotype. And it wasn't until certain people just kind of nudged me and kept talking to me and said, you know, Kel, like, you should apply. And I'm like, well, I'm not an accountant, you know, I'm not a policy maker. Yeah, but you know rugby. And so I hummed and hawed, and over the years I've been thinking about it and applied. And the first time I applied, I didn't get in, and it was you need more governance training, and I said, fair enough, you can go back. And now I'm studying it and I lecture on it, so I know a lot of the governance principles. But then I applied again, and I've got in, and that's where I am now. Our board is great, very inclusive of everyone, and I've actually found that my rugby, as an athlete, as a coach, and in the rugby context that I've grown up in, is actually quite an asset. I think the board relies on me for a lot of the kind of rugby knowledge and the rugby background and the context And that's been really refreshing, and I can really draw from those strengths, and it's really needed in the board. So I'm a mentor on the Women in Governance for New Zealand Rugby, and that's what I'm going to be talking to about women going forward. You know, women athletes, past coaches. Like at board level, they need your knowledge, they need your confidence, they need to know what you've gone through, because yeah, that's the voice behind the organisation or the union.
How we can improve the game or improve our women athletes is just giving them opportunities. Make sure they have the right trainers, the right medics, making sure they are looked after. Like, yes, we're doing it now, but let's just keep revolving that door and make sure that we're growing with the athletes.
I think the way the women's game is growing at the moment is really exciting. We may not be getting paid now, but it's exciting to know that in the future some young girls may be, and I'm just happy to be a part of it.